Welcome to Flip the Script with Vic, a sacred space for honest, unfiltered, and sometimes taboo conversations between women walking the path of truth, healing, and soul remembrance. What started as my personal exploration has become a communal prayer, a podcast devoted to amplifying women's stories in their own words. I'm your host, Victoria Nielsen, intuitive healer, mama, and space holder for the divine feminine. Here, we gather as cycle breakers, mothers, mystics, creatives, witches, and wild ones, flipping the script on what it really means to be a woman in today's world. Through raw interviews, intimate solo casts, and brave conversations, we'll chat about motherhood, mysticism, psychedelics, spirituality, and more. You'll be reminded that your voice matters, that your truth matters, that you're here to walk in beauty. So be the prayer, and let's flip the script. Are you ready? Let's jump on in. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Flip the Script with Vic. It's your host, Victoria Nielsen. I just have the best job in the world because I get to gab with the most amazing women. And my guest today is one of my favorite people on the planet, Jess Pfeffer. She is a holistic event planner, a yoga teacher, a mentor, a friend, a beautiful woman who is all about community and really lifting other women up. Jess, you're just such a beautiful example. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for having me.
And Jess and I met, very randomly here in Atlanta at the Lola. Those that know the amazing co-working space, the Lola, literally in passing. Someone was like, hey, you and Jess should meet. And they were very much right because I've been a part of Jess's Conscious Babes Who Brunch here in Atlanta for a few months now. And I feel like are a ball of energy. You know everyone. Tell me more about you, your story. How did you get here? I know that's a really big open-ended question, but have you always wanted to gather women together in community, or how did that come about?
Sure. Well, I definitely want to say gratitude to the Lola because it's true that co-working women's space is the place to meet amazing people like you. And it was very cool because it was one of those, oh, you're both into like woo-woo and health and wellness, like you should meet. And I was like, sure. And then next thing I know, you got on the wait list, the spot opened, and the rest is just this beautiful story that keeps unfolding. But yeah, I mean, the long of the short of it is I've been hosting and planning since probably middle school. It's just something that I've done. Oh yeah, like everyone calls me my last name Pfeffer. So Friday would be, this is before text messaging, so it's a phone call or whatever, Pfeffer, like what are we doing this weekend? I'm like, okay, there's a movie. We're first going to go to TJ Fridays. My mom's going to drop us off at Fridays. We're going to walk to the movie, and then so-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so is going to pick us up. Like that's kind of how it started in the full circle because I have lived different lives. I taught elementary school, got my master's in psychology, co-owned a juice bar with my sister. What else did I do? Hospitality, PR, lots of different, like life stories. But the thread line or the through line through it all always is planning and being a host and inviting people. It happens to be women more recently, but inviting people just to come to a space where they get to just show up and they get to be taken care of. So having Conscious Babes Who Brunch, this membership, teaching Settle, my somatic workshop, consulting with wellness businesses is just like, let me just be there to hold space and accountability and share with you whatever I have on my mind and heart.
I love that. And you are such a natural host. And I love that your brain immediately was like, okay, I can do all these logistics, but you also are so heart-centered and so open and so creative. Do you find like the left and right hemispheres of your brain ever at war? Or is it that the planning helps you relax into the opening and the creativity?
Yeah, great question. I mean, now as I enter my 44th year on the planet this time around, I'm definitely noticing for a while I was like, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. And then I kind of had to step out of that label I gave myself and realize, well, creativity shows up in different ways and making plans and curating, right, events and experiences like that's creativity. And then the part of planning, the logistics, that's not natural for me. I mean, my nickname since I was younger is Messy Jessie. I'm a man gen, right? So I'm nonlinear. I bounce around. My ADHD brain is also like, ooh, I'll do that, but maybe I'll do that. That was fully, I would say, if I could pinpoint it, probably 30, 31 is when I was like, okay, like that's not working for me. Changing things, friends, relationships, where I live, all the things, like all beautiful and got me to this place, but it was too much stress on me because it was constant. I don't want to say chaos, but like chaotic. It was not structured. There was no systems. And I did that first and foremost by changing the way that I lived. So I stopped eating gluten, dairy, processed sugars, never was a drinker. So that wasn't really hard for me to shift. And really noticing that a lot of those disconnects or the way my brain was working or not working to where I wanted to was just because of outside things. And then I started to like pull in systems, reading books, going back to school and learning ways that I know not only from science, but like actual lived experience. So those two parts of my brain only recently are talking to each other and working again together.
I love that. And I want to come back to that comment about creativity because I was the same for a very long time. I said I wasn't creative. And it's wild to me now, knowing what I know, that women, we are creative beings. Like we birth so many things through our womb spaces, not just children, right? But businesses, ideas. Like we are literally born and created to continue to create. We are creation energy. And so there are so many women I know listening that might have that story as well. And it starts by, right, just stopping to even say it. Like, I am creative. Like, I'm going to stop saying I'm not. And it took me having a friend like mirror it back to me. We went to Burning Man together, and I think I'd been like, oh, I'm not creative. I'm whatever. And she literally looked at me and was like, are you kidding me? Like, you are so creative. But I had thought, right, creative was like, oh, you had to be an artist or you had to, do something traditionally creative. But you're right. Creativity comes through in so many different ways. And I see it come to life in the way you've decorated your home and the way that you go about creating your business. If someone is more of kind of in that messy stage of life, how would you recommend they start creating systems that work for them? Because I know certain systems will work for many folks, but for others it won't. And I, like you, have a bit of that ADHD kind of everywhere at once. How could we begin to even start to tackle that? Or I guess maybe make friends with it would be the better way to say it.
I like that. I think the way we look at things has a lot to do with it. When we resist, it persists. So I was resisting structure. I was resisting, again, messy, Jesse. I don't like people telling me what to do. Even with social media, I'm like, I'm supposed to post this, 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 and that. I'm like, that's out the window now. I can't handle that. So I would say to take small bites. I think that's a lot that happens, especially for everyone, but women. We're like, oh, well, we need to lose weight. So let's go extreme. We need to get a new job. So we need to go we're telling ourselves that we need to get somewhere very quickly, which is my natural way of being. But instead small bites, and that's building habits. So again, because I read a lot, Atomic Habits was just a really big game changer for me. I understood that it takes 3 weeks to, build a habit, and, it takes this many weeks to break a habit, but habit stacking and creating rituals, which is the same thing as routine. The only difference is the intention. So creating those small moments for me was just making my bed every morning. It was just this tiny thing that I can say, I think at this point, I'm at least 5, if not 6 years strong, that I make it every morning. Even if I stay at a hotel. It is a joke though with my husband because I leave after him. He leaves super early in the morning. So obviously he doesn't have to do it. But I love throw pillows because a bed doesn't look made without throw pillows. So when he does take the pillows on or off on the weekends, he always says, I'm never going to get that time back. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, yeah, exactly. But first of all,
So
fair, but
dramatic,
also
Robbie.
so dramatic, Robbie. But it's that same idea that maybe that's not his thing, right? It's something for me. But after reading about it and understanding that small little moment to start my day is how I'm starting my day. It just means that no matter what else is happening, whether I do my meditation, my walk, my dry brushing, right, all these tools, like this one thing had to become a consistent thing so that the rest of the day followed, whether it was productive or not. So small bites, that would probably be my answer to that.
And I love that you shared that, ritual is routine, but with intention. And I think you do so many things very intentionally in life. how did that intention come about? Was it because you started to kind of create these systems and structures, or you have always been like a very intentional person, and very conscious of your energy and those around you?
I think it's definitely with age and experience. I think working, in different settings, so retail, hospitality, and then obviously in psychology. So after grad school, I worked in treatment centers with, alcohol and drug addiction and dual diagnosis. And I think that was my first time I really noticed that it's so easy to just do what school says, your parents, your teachers. But if you're just doing it because it's the right thing, like it's not going to work and it's not going to last. And I noticed that for myself, that it was the same thing. I was like, well, if I do this, then that's going to work. And that's not necessarily. So I think once I started to tap into my own intuition, and going to become a yoga teacher and kind of, I guess, following that path, I started to notice that I probably always had intention there, but because I've always been so fast, like I move fast, I talk fast, I eat fast, I don't walk fast. It's the only thing I do that I walk slowly, but everything else is fast. I think I was missing all those opportunities to be intentional with what I do. And then realizing what that was doing, not just to my nervous system, but to my relationships, my past romantic relationships, friendships, and what have you. Taking those little moments of the one that I do practice still is before I eat every meal, I sit and I say, thank you, farmers. I thank you, store clerks. Thank you, anyone who ever got this food to my plate. Thank you to those who made it for me, and thank you to who I'm enjoying it. Just that tiny thing has been huge for me because usually it's, well, I'm eating because I need to get to the next thing or, kind of rushing through it. So I guess it's always been in me, but only the last, again, 10 years or so have I allowed it to be just, who I am and who I want to show up as.
What a beautiful way to get yourself to slow down because, I lived, gosh, nearly 30 years of my life, 28 years of my life, very unconscious, very like just doing things, not even recognizing the energy I was putting out into the world or um, really much of anything. I was the same. I always ate really fast. I also talk really fast. I wonder if it's also like, I don't know, the Latin heritage in me, I'm sure. And I know you've
Yeah, I
been
was
a
like
human for a bit.
Cuban,
You probably like,
Miami. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
picked it up too. But that intentionality is everything, and finding the why underneath the intention too has been really important for me because sometimes I have an intention, but even the why can be a little skewered of like, oh, I'm intending to do this because it makes me feel like a nice person. Well,
Sure.
why do I have to feel like a nice person? Like kind of unraveling what's underneath it, and really discovering that when that intention comes from like who you are and what your soul is calling you to do, that's even different than the way I think other people set intentions, and that getting even more clear, like again, helps. Like, why are you going to change all these routines, right? Why are you going to start embodying this different person? Because it's not going to stick if you're not doing it for the right reasons, which to me is always like a soul calling, and not because someone outside of you says that you should, or you feel like you have to be the people pleaser or the good girl. I don't know about you. Were you a people pleaser at all growing up, or like is that I could see you like just not giving a shit and being like, nope, I'm going to do what I want to do.
It's funny, this came up the other day. I was chatting with my sister, and my sister and my mom, I do want to note, they're both my role models in the sense when it comes to intention and also coming from a place of love. Both of them, but especially my mom, like she doesn't have a bad bone in her body, and everything she does is just intentionally to make sure the other person is doing okay, which is the lesson for me, and the lesson also to be mindful not to do that. I think that is something that she's done most of her life is the people pleasing. So maybe I want to say that's in me. But the messy Jesse, don't tell me what to do person. I mean, when I was younger, people say, "Oh, you should be a lawyer. Like you're going to be the president of the United States one day." Because I was always, I don't want to say manipulating because that has such a negative tone, but like getting my way out of things, right? Like I'm quick-witted enough that I know what to say to like make sure, and not in a malicious way, but like in a way so I don't get in trouble. Because I was definitely defiant in school. Like I did not like teachers telling me what to do. I'd be like, who are you? Like that's so cool that you like became a teacher, but like I don't know you, you know, like you don't know me. So yeah, so I don't think people pleasing would be a way to describe myself, but I am all about people. That's my skill set, right? Like is talking to people and listening and being in community and connection. So I perhaps am putting other people first because it's important to me. But I don't think I'm ever doing it in a way that didn't see myself and my needs first. Like, I think that's something I really hold strongly about.
And that's important that you're not doing it in like self-sacrifice, right? That you're not like not overgiving, but
Sure.
you're it's very reciprocal, I would say. And you're so good at building communities. And I feel like you're just a beautiful networker. And that comes by, very naturally to you. I know folks are really craving community these days, especially as, the world gets more disparate, as we're more online, we're craving those like in-person connections, but putting yourself out there can be really nerve-wracking and can be really hard for some folks. So those that are like craving community, craving that heart-centered presence, what would you say to them about kind of getting out there and maybe finding their community, or helping them to feel like they perhaps belong where they are in the world?
Yeah, it's definitely been a huge topic that I've been sharing, especially as I started the Conscious Babes Who Brunch and doing research on the loneliness epidemic with the pandemic and whatnot. People staying busy to avoid being alone, but also maybe not knowing where to start. And even friends that are single. And when I was, I've been married now for 3 years, but before that, I was, obviously single. I was at least married. I would always tell people the same thing, like, go where you want to meet the people. Like if you're going to go to a bar and stay out till 4 in the morning, that's great, but know that like maybe that's the type of person that you're going to meet there. But if you want to meet someone who, likes to read or, engage in community, then go to like a free yoga event at the park, like put yourself in. And that's with all the things. And that's even stuff I learned through working with obviously AA and, in different treatment centers. It was like fake it till you make it, be where you want to be, show up where you want to be, dress the way you want. Like all these things are, again, science proven, but also it's our own responsibility because we have the agency to say, hey, I want to be with other women that are, shining each other's light. I don't want to be with women who are putting me down. So finding that one woman and just saying, hey, I feel like we resonated. Like, I feel like I heard, or, you said something that really clicked. Can we just go grab tea? Make it just like really light and easy. You don't have to join a full membership. You don't have to go, again, I guess back to that small bites. Just find that one person. And then I believe your vibe attracts your tribe. So focusing in on, okay, well, Victoria, like you're awesome. We have a lot of, Miami, Cuban, we're into this stuff. Like, let's go meet for lunch. Let's see what more comes from that. And then things usually do. It's a domino effect, and it starts first from ourselves. So yeah, I think that would be my biggest advice on that.
And it's so true because that first lunch, I want to say we talked for like 3 hours. Maybe it wasn't that long, but it was a long time that we clicked and we vibed. And I love that advice because it just takes one, right? One, hey, let's go get coffee. Hey, let me have your phone number. And I think you're always so good too about reminding us, especially at Conscious Brunch, like if you had a connection with someone, if you had a great moment, like get their phone number and plan something before you even leave the room, because we are so busy. And like trying to get something on the books, it can be hard. So like do it in the moment when it feels good. Like don't put it off. It's worth doing. And yes, you can sometimes fill your schedule. I still want to hear how your June went with like events every single day and if that felt good or not in your body. But I think you're right. It starts with you. And you're responsible for your own energy. That's something I say all the time, and to all of my clients. And I really, when I was living back in New York, I looked around and realized, what is that saying? It's like you're like the five people that you spend the most time with. And I looked around and I was like, I don't really like any of these people. Like, this is not who I want to be spending time with. And then I was very radical and moved to Birmingham, Alabama. I'm not saying you have to move across the country to change who you're hanging out with, but I do think the universe rewards you when you are willing to elevate yourself or put yourself in different types of spaces to help change your energy. How does it feel, with that packed calendar some months? Was it a balancing act to find that like giving and receiving in between like your community and feeding your own cup?
Sure. You also brought up something that my mom always says in Spanish, and I'll probably butcher it, but dígame quién tú andes con, y me voy a decir quién tú eres. Tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are. And that's, I don't know if that came down in your Cuban lineage, but it's such a, yeah, that was instilled in me since I was younger. So I definitely agree with that. And with that said, which leads me to my answer, I'm just a social being. So I can't help myself, and I've always worked with coworkers and colleagues and, other teachers. And now as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur for the last, I don't know, I'm so bad with time, 4 or 5 years, maybe even 6 years. It's remarkable to see why my schedule is as busy as it is. And it's because as a 100% extrovert, I'm seeking that connection with people that I don't get during the day. So I had one call before this. I have a call with you. I have acupuncture later today. I went for a walk outside. My husband's at work. Like during my work day, whether it's with clients or not, or using, the computer for admin stuff, that's, 6 to 8 hours that I'm mostly by myself. So looking at my calendar, I think it's important. And I even said this to my husband because he's like, were you always like this? I was like, yes, but differently, because when I did events for hotels and PR and teaching and, my working at a juice bar, having 10 employees and customers all day long, no, I didn't come home and, plan out my night. I was exhausted. I was done. I had already given all my energy out. So I would say partially because of that. And also living in Atlanta, I've lived in San Diego, Denver, New Jersey, Miami. I know more amazing women here than I have ever in my entire life. Every week, it's a joke with us at home. Who's your new bestie? Who's your new bestie? And I don't know what it is. I'm going to say it's the city. I'm going to say maybe it's me and my shift. Maybe it's a combination of both. But because of that, there's no lack of someone to do something with. And because Atlanta is Atlanta, there's no lack of something cool to be done. So even when I say I'm doing too much, and I'll put in my calendar, I have literally this past week, make no plans. Like I have to plan not to make plans. But guess what? I ignore it because all of a sudden someone's like, hey, Jess, there's, tomorrow night, hey, let's go watch a free movie, outside at Midtown Park, Bed to like Beckham. And I'm like, not supposed to do anything, but okay, that sounds great. So, and I burn myself out. No, it's not working. It's not working. I know it. I get tired easily. Um, yeah, it's not working. I haven't figured out any way to fix it or to change it. Not yet, at least.
You know what? But hey, I love that you have that awareness and you're trying, right? The little habits. You're like, okay, I'm going to put it in the calendar. I'm going to try to not plan this week. But I love that you just have such a joyous spirit and, you want to connect with folks. I'm such a hermit. I'm literally like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Leave me alone. But I also think that that's you're knowing your energy, right? And I'm a projector. So that's very different than a manifesting generator in your energy. And I think we had such a beautiful discussion at our Conscious Babes brunch. Gosh, that was only 2 days ago, about what it means free to be. And so to me, like free to be is like having the freedom in my schedule to not do shit and to
Sure.
plan my own schedule and have it be my own, and not be, beholden to anyone else. Like that was huge to me to get out of the corporate world, to know that like I don't have to be on a random 9 a.m. meeting because someone told me I had to be. Like I get to choose. What does that freedom mean to you?
Well, my slogan that I made up, it's not copyrighted yet, but it's no boss, no kids, no pets. And that is usually my answer when people say, well, how do you do that? Well, what is it, And I'm like, we all have different priorities and they're all beautiful and all a choice, right? I chose to go on my own, chose not to have kids. I'm on the fence sometimes about getting a puppy, but I've landed on that. I don't think so. That choice in a beautiful privileged way of this life for me right now is what gives me freedom. And that comes in different forms. But the freedom is if you're like, hey, Jess, at 3 o'clock today, let's go drive somewhere and go on a trip. I'd be like, oh, okay. Right. Like I don't have to check in with anyone. My husband's super chill and there isn't that quote unquote responsibility to someone else or another living thing. That to me is definitely one. And two is feeling the empowerment that I have the freedom not just to do what I want, because of course not, there's, rules and regulations and resources and all the things, but freedom to actually speak up and ask, not for what I need or what I want, but for what I require. I learned that from a coach years ago, Laura Norman in South Florida. She said, what do you require? Be really clear about that, and make sure when you're asking of things to your partner, your boss, your friends, and what have you, this is what I require. This isn't just a want because like I want it, right? I want to be able to go for a walk and I don't have to ask. I need you to, I require space and time for me to be me. And I only want people around that can receive that and hold that, because I think for too long, myself and women in general were put into a box of what's supposed to happen. And that to me is the opposite of freedom. And I just didn't want that for myself.
I love that. I'm going to start using that. And I feel like I can hear people saying, like, oh, that's selfish. You know what? Be selfish then. Like,
Yeah,
please tell the world what you require. We need to use our voices and set those. It's a boundary, really, to say, like, this is what I
100%.
require to be in my presence or to feel good or to feel like myself, even. I feel like you, like me, probably had very strong female role models in your life. Do you think, I know society has always told us that as women, we, just be happy with what you have. Don't ask for more. Just, I don't want to say shut up and be quiet, but kind of in some instances, right? How do you start to break that pattern if, that strong, empowered woman is not something that you've had an example of?
I think really touching into finding someone, even if it's not your mom or a woman role model, but some other person that you can look up to and maybe ask them for that tea and coffee. I think asking questions, that's something I do, and probably sometimes too much, but it's the follow-up question, it's checking in on someone. And then again, it's finding a connection of like, well, this wasn't working for me, so what does? And also finding room to, yeah, say, I don't know that answer, right? So I don't know how to make that shift if you don't have that role model. And I don't know, even if you do, because I have lots of women friends who, feel like they're doing all the things, but I don't think they're happy. I think they're just checking off boxes. And my mom taught me to want what you have and you always have what you need. No, want what you no, need what you what is it? Want what you have and you always have what you want. She would put them on like little postcards, and giving yourself again that permission to speak up and not allow society or like the rules of engagement to look a certain way, because at the end of the day, no one is doing this perfectly. We're all making mistakes. We're all leaving the same way, like there's no one that's going to get out doing a certain way. And I think having that mentality and that mindset to say, I think life's meant to be lived. And I am going to ask for what I require, whether I get it or not, that's a different story, right? And maybe, acceptance, right? I guess radical acceptance is, I'm not going to get XYZ, and like, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. You have an amazing retreat coming up in October. Please share more. I still have yet to make it to one of Jess's settle classes here in Atlanta, but I am so envious every time, one of the
Mm.
ladies that I know goes, like they come out so rejuvenated because we need that time to settle in our everyday lives. So please share more about the class, but also the retreat that you have coming up in October.
Sure. So Settle came to me about a year and a half ago. I was reading the book My Grandmother's Hands, and he really spoke about what settled bodies are and how we get to them. And it's really all about understanding that our nervous system is just here to protect us. So, understanding a little bit from psychology and also polyvagal and just in general, I created this workshop to bring people in maybe an hour or 2 hours to learn about somatic movements, practices, breath work, meditation. And then I love collaborating with other practitioners in Atlanta. So every month I offer that publicly. And then I also offer it privately to companies and organizations. So having Conscious Babes Who Brunch, which is the membership that Victoria and 11 other women are members of, I wanted to keep adding opportunities for them. So this retreat was created for the babes, but of course it's open to everybody, to get a full weekend of that reset. So I'll teach settle on day one. I invited two other colleagues to teach the second and third day offerings that I don't offer. So yin, sound healing, inner child work, and Reiki. And I found this amazing farm about an hour and a half from Atlanta that we can do all the things right there. So there's lodging, food's included. And I made sure that every day has a workshop and a couple things, but there's plenty of time just to do nothing, read a book, take a nap, go on one of the hiking trails. It's a 160-acre property. It's a working farm. So again, just with that intention to create space for women who maybe are busy, overstimulated, overworked, and holding on to childhood stuff that has taught us to be like that instead of actually because we want to be like that.
I feel like every single woman in the world needs this because we've all been taught that we can have it all and we need to do it all and do it well and be girl bosses and blah. Oh my gosh, no, we don't need to do it all. And we need to learn to settle. We need to learn to be okay in the silence and in the peace. I know when I started regulating my nervous system, I didn't know what to do in the silence. Like I always wanted to fill it. I didn't want to be alone with myself or with my thoughts. And now that I've been on this journey of, gosh, regulation, I feel like forever, but consciously for the last like 7 years, I finally like love silence. And actually, I'll drive like in silence sometimes just to like be alone with my own thoughts. And the thought of that like 5 years ago would have put like that Victoria into a tailspin, being like, what? What do you mean? You need music on, you need something going on, like you need some type of distraction, essentially. And so I think more of us just need to become okay with being with ourselves. But that can be really scary because then we have to learn to unravel all of these things that society has told us that maybe we've spent our time doing that actually didn't benefit us. So, is there anything before we wrap up that's on your heart that you would just love to share? Any words of wisdom to any of the women listening on, yeah, how to settle, how to be, how to embody? Absolutely anything.
Sure. I think the quickest way is when we are in our fight or flight or freeze or fawn, right? Our body is just again trying to protect us and keep us in survival, but is what it's also doing is not allowing us to rest and digest. And although there are so many practices, and again, I teach them at Settle and I have conversations with other people about it, the one that's the quickest and easiest, hand on the forehead and then the second hand behind the head. So this is symbolizing when you were first born and being held. So it's just this practice, taking a breath here and holding your head is just a really quick way to tell yourself that you are safe in this moment and coming back to your own place.
I love that. I feel so much calmer just doing that. My whole body like exhaled, like, thank you so much, Jess, for being you, for sharing your light. Any woman that is interested in any of Jess's offerings, please check out the show notes. I'm going to have everything listed there. Please join us for Settle in October. I don't know. Any last things, words that you want to plug, things on your heart?
Probably most importantly right now is I slowly mitigate off of the interwebs of social media is for people to sign up for Tune In Tuesday. It's my newsletter I send out twice a month. This has been this really consistent thing that I enjoy and I love getting feedback from people who read it. And obviously there's so much in our inbox. So if you already have enough things coming at you, like I don't want to be another thing for you. But if you're like, wait, no, I do want to hear about whatever Jess is talking about in terms of wellness. And I always put my experiences at the bottom, but I think the reminder is too, and that's why I said it like that. I'd like things to be an invitation. So I invite you to subscribe. I invite you to join a membership, but I also invite you to say, I already got a lot going on. This isn't the time and the place. Like we are sometimes again forcing things and the invitation to allow in this moment and hopefully the next part of your chapters in life.
Yay, I love that. Thank you so much for being here, Jess. I'm going to invite all of the listeners to like, rate, subscribe, review, share this conversation and podcast with another woman who needs to hear it. Even if you're not here in Atlanta, Jess has so many beautiful resources to share. And I think just what a beautiful reminder that we get to be the main character of our own life. We get to set our intentions. We get to choose. And what a privilege it is to get to choose. So why not choose yourself? Thanks so much for being
Thank you.
here. Be good to one another. Mwah. See you next week.
See you soon.